Raise your.
All right. Let's see. Excellent. Okay. I think everybody from the waiting room has been let in. Great. Okay. We've got a really full agenda today, which is exciting. Welcome to the November 2025 Ballpark Community Council meeting. We are coming from Salt Lake Community College, second floor. Thank you, South City Campus. And I'm going to put in the chat, but since they're so kind to host us, throw in, they are hosting a very cool art show right now. I've been encouraged to share that all with you. Let a few more people in. And in addition to the cool art show, the President's Art Show, I've been told that there's also an excellent choir concert that's coming up, and I'll show that as soon as I start sharing my screen. Let's see. So I want to acknowledge we've got 3 board members in the room. There's Jeff Sandstrom, there's Janice Liu, there's myself, Amy Hawkins. Thank you for your service, guys. I just wanted to thank you especially in the past month for assisting with some community events. I don't know what everybody did in the debate this month. That was not something I was not involved in that end of the debate, but I reached out to Christina Robb, who's chair of the East Liberty Park Community Organization, to ask if I should thank the Ballpark board members or just the other District 5 community councils, and she insisted yes, that you all did help out quite a bit. So thank you guys. A few more community announcements. We will have December elections for board members. We're on a 2-year cycle, so 3 of us are up for re-election next month. John Margetts could not be here tonight, and that's part of why he has decided to not go up for re-election. He's done, I'll say this again next month, but he's done a phenomenal job as a community leader in every regard. Serves at the quarterly Gail Miller Resource Center Neighborhood Advisory Council meetings. He leads the trash cleanup there, which helps out with the resource center and helps incentivize guests at the resource center to do work with our community. And he's not running for re-election because he's taken on a leadership role with the Boy Scouts of America and his son, which is, you know, another admirable form of community service. So not surprised at all that that's what John Margetts is up to. He's also given public comments several times during the state legislative session on bills that impact our neighborhood. So all hail John Margetts. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see. A few more community announcements. We have asked repeatedly for the Housing Authority to and speak to us about the rezone that they've proposed at 1776 Southwest Temple. And they are not going to be doing that for a little while. They've hired a market study to see what the community needs the most. How many bedrooms should apartments have? What demographic group will benefit the most? What kinds of housing are in short supply in the neighborhood? How do residents commute? And so after that study comes in, then the Housing Authority staff and the board will meet and decide for direction for the project. And so significantly later, maybe in the next few months, we'll hear a presentation at a later time. That might be confusing to folks because Building Salt Lake reported the rezone being proposed in July. So we thought this would happen faster. But I just wanted to give an explanation about what's going on. We have invited them repeatedly to present, and once they are prepared, we will be delighted to host them. Okay. Let's see. Anything else on the community business? Oh, yes. We can transition into Detective Sam Fallows. Are you available to join us?
Yes, can everybody hear me okay?
Hi.
How's it going?
Great. I wondered if you wanted to be the person to announce the school bus stop moving, because I know that you were part of this conversation for this evaluation.
Sorry, say it again, Amy.
I wondered if you wanted to talk about how the school bus stop in our neighborhood was moved, because I know you've been part of that discussion, the safety concerns around the school bus stop.
Yeah, for sure. We can start with that tonight. Absolutely.
There's some
Um,
new faces in the room. I know you can't see them, but believe me, they're about, I'll do like 15 or 20 people in the room. There are some new folks here, so it'd be great if you gave an introduction.
yeah, let's do that. So I'm Detective Sam Fallows. I am the community liaison for districts 5, 6, and 7. So Ballpark is in districts 5. Um, so I will be just to add to the introduction a little bit. I'll be promoting to sergeant here in the next probably month and a half to 2 months, so about January. So
Congratulations.
yeah,
Big
thank you.
steps.
Yeah,
That
thank you.
means you're not going to be our community liaison anymore.
Correct. Yeah. So we actually just put out a memo to the department today for applicants for this position. So I'll be working with my commander, my lieutenant, to pick a good replacement and kind of train him or her up on how we do things and stuff. And they'll continue to go to these meetings that I attend now. So yeah. So as your community liaison, just to give people an idea of kind of what I do. The biggest thing I do is really attend these meetings and then try and connect the community to as many resources as we have in the department. We have a lot of different resources that a lot of people don't know about that can help with um, kind of the smaller issues that aren't really necessarily patrol officers can deal with, but that I can have like other resources that can help. So it could be anything from like if you're having speeding issues in your neighborhood, I can help you get in touch with our motor division to put in a directed speed enforcement. If you've got people that are transients that are camping in your neighborhood or something like an alleyway, something like that, I can work with the heart team to get resources to them. And then a really really good resource that just came online, and this is very important, especially for like Jefferson Park in Ballpark, and is we have our green space um, units that just came online Sunday, I believe it was.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, so we have two full-time squads that are green space. They cover 7 days a week between the two squads. They are specifically for um, basically exactly what they are, any green space. So parks, Jordan River Trail, um, and then they can be utilized for hotspot locations as well for little things that we have that pop up. So what that means for you residents with like Jefferson who are near Jefferson Park and that and those areas where it's been kind of a hot spot, especially during the summertime, is you can reach out to me or you can reach out to just through the heart team, all those things. But now we've got a unit that's dedicated to dealing with those specific issues in the parks and in the green spaces. So that is a very big deal, and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, they did start. I believe it was Sunday. So, and those are funded positions. They'll be here as part of the kind of the chief's vision to um, deal with the homelessness issues and those things in the city. So, and they also work closely with like our heart team, getting resources to people and things like that. So, um, yeah. Any questions on the green space before we move on from that? I know that's a pretty big topic. So. I think it's 5 officers and a sergeant, I believe, per squad. There's 2 squads. Um, and yeah, they'll be on bikes and stuff in the summertime. So you'll see them. And something that they might be able to help with, actually, we'll just kind of move into this, is the bus stop. So,
Oh, hold the phone. Fraser had a question more about the
oh,
green route.
Thanks, Detective Fallows. It's Fraser. How do we get in touch with the green team? Just through the
so
regular line, or what's the best way to reach out to them?
yeah, it would be, yeah, just like the dispatch, or again, if it's like a specific ongoing problem where it's just, like again, let's just say a camp that just keeps coming back after they've been moved on, whatever it is. You can reach out to me or whoever's, to this position, to the community liaison, and I can coordinate with them as well. If you also reach out through the app and report the camp, I believe that they're going to start kind of going on those as well. So
Thank you.
it's a very new thing. They just, like I said, they just came online Sunday. So, but yes, I know both the sergeants over those squads very well, and I'm happy to reach out with any issues that people are having in the parks, the green spaces.
Great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, were there any other questions on the green space?
I believe that's all for now. Anybody else in the room interested in green space stuff? Not at the moment. Okay. Let's talk about that school bus stop.
Yeah, so I'm not super familiar with like why it was moved or any of those things because that's all with the school. Doesn't really have much to do with the police department, but the safety part of it is obviously concerning.
That is the reason it was moved. It was safety concerns.
The bus stop was moved because of safety reasons.
The bus stop was moved for safety concerns.
Which has now caused more safety concerns. Is that what we're saying?
No, so let's see. So let me try to summarize this. So there was a school bus stop that was located at 1634 Southwest Temple for Hillside Middle School. And then
Right.
there was some discussion on the community watch page, and some concerned parents were reaching out to the school district, and our brand new school board member, Annie Romano, who could not be here tonight, but will try to be here in December, saying that if people were concerned about really limited lighting and mature trees obstructing the views of parents who wanted to make sure that their students could safely get on the bus. And so we had the transportation director from the Salt Lake City School District come out and see what was going on, and did not care to see that there were students who were also crossing the tracks line to get to the bus stop. So previously the bus stop was moved to the crosswalk located at Van Buren and West Temple. That's right in front of the ballpark playground, so it's much safer. The ballpark playground is incredibly well lit, like even at midnight, it's a great spot. So everybody can see what's going on, and there's even a small parking lot where students can wait and see their kids get on the bus. So, and then they're adding a stop in front of the City Loft Apartments on 17th South, so kids are not crossing the tracks line, which is very important. So that's what I can tell you about that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Um,
Anybody
yeah.
wants boarding of that official communication or anything like that, just let me know. I'm happy to drop it anywhere.
Perfect. Yeah, that's good to know. I didn't know that last update, so that's good. So they moved it to a safer spot now, so that's good. From the police side of things, it would be hard for us to like staff, protection during like school hours. But what we would do is either reach out to the SROs first to get them, to see if they can do anything about the school bus, the stops. And then the second thing is what I would suggest too to the community is either parents corroborating and putting together some kind of a, it doesn't sound like it's needed anymore though, because the bus stop was moved, but putting together some kind of a, the word is escaping my mind right now.
Are you trying to come up with the word carpool?
Yes, thank you. Carpool. A carpool or something like that would be kind of like another idea to kind of get to shuttle kids to and from safer bus stops. But it sounds like the bus stops have moved to better areas, and so then we'll kind of wait and see how those go. If your kids, another thing is talk to your kids about obviously like safety. If most kids have phones these days, teach them the phone numbers to the police department, the non-emergency 911. If there's an issue, have them call us and tell us so that we can do that. And then again, I can work with the SROs and kind of see if they are aware of these specific issues for the SROs in that area, for that middle school. So we can do that, but hopefully with the new bus stop in that new area, and they don't have to cross the tracks line, that will kind of mitigate most of that. Was there anything else you wanted to add about the bus stop, Amy?
No, let's move. I want to be cognizant of the time, and I know there's at least one person in this room and one person online who's asking about the impact of the Odyssey House on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something that you've been able to look into or coordinate with, but I want to make sure, since folks have been since folks are here to ask those questions, that we can talk about them.
Yeah. So I did start to dive into the statistics over there from the police side of things. It sounds like we're seeing over there quite a bit from just some of the community members I've talked to with the Odyssey House. So what I will do at this point, so I've pulled some stats and I've started looking at some of those things to kind of dive into what we're seeing. I think something that's going to be good over there, and I'll work with the Odyssey House on this, is seeing if we can get some city issued trespass signs put up there to deal with some of the camping that happens like at night, it sounds like, in the parking lot and things like that. And then I'll also let our bike units know to see if they can kind of do some extra patrols through that area when they're that's right by their it's very close to their to their substation, yeah, and then also just they're in that area all the time. So I'm gonna reach out to Sergeant Christensen and see if they can just kind of roll through that area every so often. But I'll work with the Odyssey House, see if I can work with them on getting some content. And then just continue to, like, again, sometimes it gets tiring to call all the time, but if there's issues that are spilling into the neighborhood, call us on those so that I can track those and kind of get other resources besides patrol over there as well. So I looked at the stats. To be 100% honest, it didn't look super egregious. I pulled the stats from the beginning of January to now to current. It looks like we've had about, let me pull it real quick. Hold on one second. Looks like we had about 20 calls for service there, but to be fair, and I think this is why people have seen this a lot, October was an anomaly month, and there was 12 calls for service in October of those 20. So it was I think that's why people are seeing a bigger issue over there. So I'm going to dive into that more as well and see like what happened in October that made those calls go up so much. So yeah, that's what I'll work on for you all, and we can follow up another time as well and kind of give an update on that. But I think October was a pretty busy month over there, so that's probably why the community is seeing more police activity over which is right before this meeting, right before our November meeting. So that's what I'm thinking. Are there any quick questions on that?
I have one.
Yeah, go Brad.
I live on Jefferson, lived there for 23 years. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And that's saying something for Jefferson Street. I've been speaking to my neighbors, and I've spoken to 3 office managers that are just next door to me and across the street. They're in lockdown. Video surveillance lockdown. They're living in constant fear of their lives and their well-being. I talked to a mother who recently divorced from an abusive marriage, has an autistic son who's afraid to let her son go outside, who lives right next to the new library annex. And I've talked to lots of people who didn't know that there was an Odyssey House one door up or across the street. I didn't know. And that feels like we've been betrayed. We have a 350 unit apartment building with single mothers with children who live less than 100 yards away. And in the city code, I know Amy looked this up for me, so I know it's technically what they say they're doing is within code. But I live there, and practically every night there's a homeless camp in the parking lot. Now, when I drove by tonight, it wasn't there. But every night, and I've called the non-emergency line a couple of times myself,
Yeah.
I see multiple units of multiple police cars in the parking lot, one time 6 police cars. I emailed you the morning after that, there was 2 police cars, an ambulance and a fire truck.
Yeah.
And that's just been a continuing theme. And since they came in, since they bought the building and came in, the neighborhood has changed severely because once Tradition Point Apartments opened up and the gate was locked at the end of Jefferson Street where it goes into the other apartment complex, it was peaceful. It felt safe. It felt different. And as soon as Odyssey House came into the neighborhood, it was a shit show. There was homeless living in derelict cars. Jefferson Street got shut down to evict them from wherever they were camping. And it's been a circus. And this poor woman who I talked to today, who's suffering from PTSD from escaping an abusive relationship, her son is autistic and she's afraid to go outside. The homeless are sleeping on the patio of the library annex. They're sleeping there right next door to her with her little child playing in the yard. So primarily, whether they're within zoning or not, it's a safety issue. And if somebody dies or goes to the hospital because Odyssey House moved into the neighborhood without notifying anybody, there was no notification. That's a safety concern right there. That's a severe safety concern that we were not notified. And we were not notified that they're enabling the homeless to sleep in their parking lot. They have a picnic table in their parking lot and they sleep there every single night. And the poor woman, Claudia, who managed the office at Ballpark Apartments, she's in complete lockdown. She has 20 cameras around her apartment building. She has a big screen that monitors them. She does not go outside. She sees homeless people defecating on her property. Liliana Rock, who manages Tradition Point, they're cleaning up syringes constantly and use condoms and graffiti and human excrement. And this is our hood. This is our neighborhood. This is where the children play and the women want to be safe. The office manager next door to me, she is being questioned about her sanity for working there because of the safety issues. So nobody knows. I have talked to my neighbors today. Nobody knew there was Odyssey House in the neighborhood. And everybody is concerned.
I
And
gotcha.
yeah,
You know, was it October when they opened up over there? Was it that recent?
I don't know. It has been going on way before then. The thing is, it was a secret. They didn't even have a sign up until just a week or two ago.
They had their license began on April 17th.
Yeah, and that's about when it changed. And
Okay.
you know, they're not the city code says a resident community and resident provisions, resident conduct, facilities are expected to deter negative external behaviors and ensure resident conduct is managed appropriately. That doesn't feel like that's not happening.
Yeah. So I think as part of what I'll do there is obviously I'll meet with yeah. So just to answer the chat a little bit, the address is 124 West 1400 South. That's what we're talking.
Yes.
So I think part of what needs to happen as part of the trespass signs is I'll meet with the staff and make sure that they are aware and are doing what they need to do. And if not, then we can bring in other city partners to help me, deal with those issues. But I also say just continue to call when you're seeing issues because it gives me the teeth and it gives me the pin in the map that I need to say, hey, because like I want to dive into like why October was so busy over there, right?
Well,
so
the
I haven't
main
even pulled
reason
stats
is
of the surrounding neighborhood like what you guys are talking about. I just pulled it just for that address, but I can pull like a radius and I'll bet you it's going to be even more. So I want to dive into that too and figure out like why this huge influx. I mean, we know why, but I want to understand like the real why, get down to the nitty gritty of it, and then work with them to fix it. So give me a chance to talk to them and see what we can do to like get their cooperation in all this, and then we'll go, kind of go from there. But in the
All right.
meantime, when there's immediate issues that need dealing with, just continue to call.
Oh, I have the number in my phone. I call probably more than anybody else on the planet. So yeah, you're preaching to the choir. So I'm doing that.
Yeah, I don't doubt you guys are calling for sure, and I appreciate you guys doing that. And a lot of you guys have to remember with patrol, it's based on priority and what how many officers we have available.
Well, on that topic, Liliana Rock, who's in the meeting on Zoom, she's a young woman who manages the office at Tradition Point. And she had a homeless man barge into her foyer, lock himself into the restroom, and she called the police, and it took them 4 hours to respond to get him out of the apartment building. And this is a young woman who is in a fearful situation for her well-being. And she's got this constant pushing. Just this week or last week, someone came in and stole all the packages out of the foyer, just barged in, and they watch the door. And if the door's not locked, then they test it and they get in. And they've spent. She told me that the apartment owners had to up their security and hire another time slot for the security team that's costing them a significant amount of money per month for their security. They've had graffiti that they've had to have removed. It's horrendous in the neighborhood.
Yeah,
And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what's going on.
yeah.
They're dancing down the street in front of my building, high on drugs. They're testing the fences. They're testing the doors. I've seen them going up and down the street, checking the car doors to see if they're locked. And I have to go out there and run them off. There's no possible way that the police can be there enough.
Correct.
And Odyssey House is enabling that environment because they're allowing the homeless to sleep in their parking lot every night. Every night.
So I'm just to follow up real quick, and I'm just trying to play devil's advocate because when I go talk to them, I want to know, like, when you say they're enabling, like, what are they doing to enable?
They're allowing them to sleep in their parking lot. I
Uh,
called the police at 12:30 a.m. and there was somebody yelling at the top of their voice, which happened also at 11:30. And there's a camp. There's a raucous, loud, homeless camp in that parking lot almost every night. And they're allowing that to happen. They're permitting that to happen. There's homeless people sleeping all around Odyssey House, up the alleyway up to Ballpark Apartments. They come walking down with their blankets towards Odyssey House in the morning.
Yeah.
I know we
So-
have a resident from Ballpark Apartments in the room. Have you experienced any issues that you're concerned about, Janice?
I guess, like the vacant building to our, I'm at Ballpark. And so the vacant building,
Carver sheet metal.
right, there's a lot of activity.
Yeah.
There.
Even I've noticed some activity.
And
just
people have
walking by.
reported it to me, what they can see outside their balcony. And one of the houses further down, I don't know if it was some point in the summer, but the water was still on. So they were going out there and using the water.
Okay.
Or, like a vacant building.
Yeah. I understand there's obviously a big issue. So I get that. So I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on talking to Odyssey House, seeing what we can do to get their cooperation if they won't cooperate, which I think they will. Most people don't want to have these issues in their neighborhood, but give me, I'll talk to them and we'll work on like the trespass signs would be helpful because our officers can take action. They can arrest people at night when Odyssey House isn't when the staff isn't necessarily on hand to call us. Because here's the thing, if a resident calls us and says, hey, someone's trespassing over at that address, you're not the owner of the building, you're not the owner of the property. So if we don't have the trespass signs, we can't really take action because it has to be the owner. essentially, or the owner's agent. So when we get the trespass signs, it negates all that, and we're good to go to take action and all those things. So yeah, let me look into a couple of these different incidents. The one with Lilian on the 23rd, I'll look into that one as well and just kind of see, the only other thing I can say, and without looking at the incident, I can't say much about like why it took 4 hours for the officers to respond, other than just here's a couple of just basic tips when calling the police on something, serious. And again, I haven't had a chance to talk to Liliana or look at the call for service. So this may have very well happened. Don't take it as I'm saying that anybody did anything wrong. Just some basic tips. When you're calling the police, make sure you give, because sometimes there's a disconnect between dispatch and what patrol gets by way of information, which is not a great thing, but it does happen. We're all humans, right? So that happens sometimes. So make sure when you're telling dispatch what's going on, make sure that you're giving very descriptive things. So like, for instance, let's just say in the case where he comes into the bathroom, if it started off with a male coming in to the foyer, and we're just gonna give an hypothetical, and he's not being aggressive or anything, right? And so they call and they say, hey, there's a male here, he's trespassing, and dispatch says, cool, we'll send an officer out, and then the call ends and they're just waiting for an officer now. That's going to be a very low priority call, right? And I'm not saying this is what happened. Again, I'm just saying, I'm giving an example. So that's going to be a very low priority call. But let's say then the male starts to get agitated and they start yelling and screaming and they go lock themselves in the bathroom. If we don't get an updated call, so if they don't call 911 back and say, this is now escalated, he's being aggressive, he's yelling, he's screaming, and he's being violent, we won't know. And so on our end, on patrol's end, all we see is a low priority trespasser, and we're going to deal with that based on a low priority call. So if you call back to dispatch or you call 911, again, if it's escalating, then just call 911. You don't have to call the non-emergency. And to give them the updated information of, hey, he's being aggressive, he's being violent, he's locked himself in a bathroom, and then the call will get up to a higher priority to respond to quicker. So we have to prioritize our calls. We're in Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City has an exorbitant amount of calls, more than any other city pretty much combined. We're at 260,000 cases for the year right now. We still got 2 months to go. So we have to prioritize our calls. And so if we don't get this updated information, and again, I'm not saying that's what happened, I'm just saying in general, I've noticed that sometimes that's what happens, then the best thing to do is call 911 back and give an update of, hey, this has now changed and now this is happening. So just a tip. I'll look into that call for service and see why it took us so long to do that. And that was the Ballpark Apartments. I want to make sure I get that right.
Tradition Point.
Tradition Point. Okay.
Brand new, 1425 Jefferson.
Okay, I'm making a note.
1415, whatever it is.
We have to wrap up this discussion because of a packed agenda. I'm very glad that so many people signed on or here in person to voice their concerns about this. This is clearly a new set of concerns and it's pretty significant. Detective Fallows, I'll send you the chat from this part of the meeting so you can have all these details and names because I think it's important, and we'll try to close the loop on this and get back to it. And I am sorry for anybody who's felt unsafe. That's
Absolutely.
it's not good.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the primary issue. Talk for a man, it's different, but for a woman who is all by herself in an office and there's no one there, that feels very intrusive and possibly dangerous. So that's the feel I got from talking to my neighbors. We have women who are managing offices who are all by themselves. And they have a very lawless environment that's moved into the neighborhood, and they don't know there's nothing they know they can do about it. I mean, my employee has a concealed carry. He comes to work every day packing. I'm not worried about him, but the women I talk to, they just feel like they're scared to death.
Yeah. Well, and that's not a good thing at all. And yeah, we'll work on it, and we'll we'll follow up for sure.
Yeah, we will close the loop on this. And maybe we can talk again about this next month and see what conversations were had and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But let's talk about some new housing for the neighborhood. And I'm not dismissing your concerns. We've got
We gotta move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see, all right. Diana Martinez, I've seen you, I believe there are two of you online. How can that be?
Oh, no. I do hear an echo. I'm sorry. Do you see two of me?
Yeah, right, side by side.
Let me get out and I'll come back.
Yeah,
And who's the other one?
very common name.
Not that common. Oh,
Oh, wait. How about
now I see just one of you. Good job.
Thank you.
All right, so let's learn about these townhomes. So these are for 16 new townhomes at 1032 through 1046 South Jefferson Street.
Correct. Is Drake in the audience?
Yeah.
Hi, Drake.
I'm gonna let him talk just because the city is not at the point where we're complete with our review. So I'm gonna let Drake tell you about his proposal and then we'll go from there if you have any questions of me.
Drake, are you also online?
I'm not online.
If you get online, then you can share slides with everybody at the
Okay.
same time.
Well, that's what I was hoping to do.
I would love it if you did. Do you have the meeting link?
I think so, yeah.
Neat. Sorry.
Make sure you join without audio, just so we don't get.
Oh, yes.
Like, make sure you join with your mic muted.
Got it.
Thank you, Tyler. Right on. By the way, our tech support today, Tyler made a movie that you can.
You can rent that bad boy on Amazon right now.
And supposedly, if you like Little Miss Sunshine, you'll like this movie.
Yes.
What's it called, Tyler?
It's called The Wedding Party.
The Wedding
Yeah,
Party.
little drama in there. Definitely a road movie and a real creaky old van. So, it's a
Okay.
good time. Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty cool.
What was the name
detail.
again?
And
Kind of like Dumb and Dumber?
Yeah, The Wedding
There you
Party.
go.
It's on Apple TV. We're on Amazon. We're streaming on Google Play as well. Like, you can rent or buy. So yeah, you can also get a DVD, but that's another story. So
If the Sundance Film Festival is leaving, we should know if somebody who's helping us out at Salt Lake Community College has made a movie that we can stream at home.
thank you.
How's it going, Drake?
Says I'm joining.
I haven't noticed yet, but as soon as it is, I'll let you in.
Is Detective Fallows reachable by a particular phone number?
Oh, sure.
I would very much like to contact him about what's going on with us. It very much echoes with his chuckling side. I've got even worse.
I will be delighted. There you are, Drake. I will be delighted to share his contact info with you. I keep it in my phone. You got it. Yeah. Now I'm letting you in, Drake. There you are.
Okay.
Got some little dots going on here. Exciting.
Yeah, I'm in.
Made you a co-host. You should be able to share whatever you care to. There we go.
Yeah, still from here.
You're welcome to stand at the front of the room too if you want.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So this is our project. This is from Jefferson Street. It's 1032, 1036, 1046, South Jefferson. It's gonna be 16 for sale, family sized townhomes. There's gonna be 4 row houses of 4. They're all gonna be 3-bed, 3.5 bath, about 1,650 square feet with 1-car garages. On the
3-bedroom?
3-bedroom, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. And then a little bit about what we're doing, just for anybody who's not aware, is right now we are going through a plan development. The plan development is a special review process where the planning commission can kind of have some flexibility in approving a project based on the zoning standards. They're looking for a project that advances the city's long-term vision for growth, makes efficient use of land, utilities, and infrastructure, encourages innovative site and building design, and reflects the surrounding character of the neighborhood. Some things that we're asking for in this plan development is a reduction in the rear yard setback from the maximum of 25 feet to 10 feet. We're asking to increase the height from 30 feet to 32 feet. Create lots without street frontage and buildings without street frontage. I was hearing some things that maybe were misunderstood by some of the residents as well. We're not asking for any increase in density beyond what is allowed in the code or any reduction to parking requirements. This is just showing what the density requirements are. There's 1 building form allowed for every 1,500 square feet a lot. And one of the building forms would be minimum of 3 units and a maximum of 4 units. And then 1 space is required per unit in the zone. What we're asking for with a reduction in the rear yard setback from 25 feet to 10 feet is not to necessarily not to increase density. If we're going to go to try to increase density, we could actually fit up to 21 townhomes that would all be a little bit less than 1,000 square feet with 2-bed, 1 bath, 1-car garage, and have 4-foot side yard setbacks. The reason we're asking for it is to be able to build bigger units, 3-bedroom, 3.5 units, 3.5 bath units that can promote homeownership and get families in there and people to activate Jefferson Park. Another bonus is we think that by reducing the rear yard setback, we're allowed to reduce some of the impact on the neighbors to the north and south by increasing our interior side yard setbacks, which in the zone are required to be 4 feet, but we're proposing an 8-foot setback, so we're doubling it. And we're pushing closer to the parking lot of the apartment in the back. Let's talk about our request for an increase in height. This is a permitted height exception in form-based zones. What the code says, in order to promote a varied skyline and other roof shapes in the area, structures with a sloped roof may exceed the maximum building height in the form-based districts by 5 feet. If they meet 2 criteria, which is it doesn't include any additional living space, and there's a minimum pitch for the roof. But we meet both of those criteria. We also think that increasing the height from 30 feet to 32 feet was going to be virtually unnoticeable to anybody walking by, but it greatly improves the overall proportions and functionality of the building, along with the exterior design. Last are the 2 other ones we're asking for, variances we're asking for, is to create lots without frontage, which is essential for making this a for sale product. And buildings without frontage, which is probably one of the most common requests in Salt Lake City due to the depth of the lots and just promoting the efficient use of land.
is this going to be a HOA?
There will be an HOA for this, yeah.
And how will that be managed?
That will be managed by the residents who live there. They'll elect a board and the HOA manager. But after I sell them off, I kind of pass the reins off to the residents who live there.
Alright, how about parking? Much parking is allowed?
There is one parking stall per each unit.
No, nobody had just one car.
That is true.
So is there gonna be street parking?
There is street parking, and one thing too, I was talking to Doug about a while ago is trying to get angled parking. On Jefferson, I think it would greatly reduce. I think that would have greatly reduced, a lot of parking constraints.
It's just not room. I live on Jefferson at 1410.
It's 2 lanes in that spot.
And the is that?
Yeah,
It's
it's 2
double-
lanes
it's
right
double
there.
wide.
Oh,
and
double?
Parallel,
Oh,
yeah.
double?
There is,
They just got out of the library annex and it's halfway out to the road. I have to drive around the cars to get
no,
by.
there would definitely be plenty of space to do angle parking on both sides of the street.
So it's a wider street.
Yeah,
We've met with city engineering and they plotted it out and said there is room for angle parking. And on the east side of the street, with the west side being the curb street, that's or curb parking that's currently there. It would just be reducing one lane of travel.
Sounds good. You probably need it, because it's already a shit show around here. Because there's no parking, nobody allows for parking, it's like West Temple's both, parked all the way down the street.
So that's pretty close, like when you're coming off the off
it's
ramp.
right underneath the underpass. Like,
Is that,
yeah, it's right next to the underpass where they just put in the
that
foot
little,
board.
yeah, right.
Is there any like? I'm bumping up against limits of my knowledge. Is there any like UDOT thing about like distance from an interstate off ramp or
Not,
anything like
not for
that?
that street because it doesn't technically intersect with UDOT.
Okay.
Because it's just avoiding the off ramp, but it's not intersecting with it, so there's no problem with that.
Got it.
And we're also asking for angle parking on part of Meadown as well as part of our CIP.
That I knew about. Yeah.
Amy,
Yes, ma'am.
may I say a few things? Through the eyes of a preservationist. So, since the property is not located within a local historic district, I'm concerned with the appearance of large and out of the place buildings popping up along Jefferson Street. I'm also concerned with the proposed demolition of homes which may threaten the historic character of this street. Which is a place which has history, rhythm and street pattern, quality construction, as well as design. So those are my concerns about this development.
Well, I know at least the houses on our property, the quality of construction is, we've got cracking foundations, we have sewer lines that are clogged. There's several constant maintenance issues with those. And with these, we believe we can deliver something really high quality for residents to come and live in.
But for me, it's losing the historic character of that street.
Got a question about the price point.
Well, I can't say exactly what the price is gonna be. It'll have to be kind of determined at the time of delivery.
Market rate. But
They are market
Yeah.
rate, yes.
Yeah, market rate can vary a lot.
Are you also doing the ones off the street?
On Golds Avenue?
Correct.
Yes, yes.
How are those going?
Those are going really well, actually, and we'll be excited to deliver those. We think it's gonna be a great addition to Jefferson Park. We got a bunch of balconies. After our meeting last time, we decided to put a bunch of balconies and front doors that all walk out into the park. And I actually went over there. It was like right before we started breaking ground, and I saw a concert in the park, and I was like, "This is gonna be so awesome when people move in here and this kind of activities happening in the park."
It has the potential to be really exciting with what they're proposing with the ballpark, but that's yet to be seen.
That's from the ballpark action team meeting, it sounded like they could be a long ways down the road as well.
Bureaucracy grinds slowly.
Yeah. As it does.
Do you plan on doing any improvements to the alleyway as you work on? Because your units will be accessing the alleyway, won't they?
On the west side.
Yeah.
We are improving the alleyway that abuts Gold's, but not this alley. Not 100% on. But
Who
we
owns
do hope
that
that.
alley?
What was that?
Who owns the alley?
It's a public alley. The city does.
So in your project, you take ingress from Jefferson and then egress
be able
onto
to-
the alleyway, or?
You'll be able to,
The nation to the.
it's wide enough to get egress and egress from both the alley and.
So do you envision most people will just use Jefferson both ways?
I think a lot of people come, I guess it depends on where they're coming from, but I think people come from both sides.
Traffic in the neighborhood has increased exceptionally since I moved here. It's been, those roads are getting used much more because they're connecting roads between Target and north, south, east, west. It's really gotten quite a bit, well, the apartments that have come in, a lot more traffic. A lot.
Katie, did you have a question about seeing something again?
If we can see the
Yeah.
layout again.
Yeah. Yeah, are the garages gonna be along the alley or are they gonna be in the center of the?
They're gonna be access from the center, which is gonna be a private concrete driveway.
Could you also,
So sorry, would you turn the volume down on your computer? I keep hearing the echo of the meeting. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Sorry.
could you talk a little bit about the proposed trash collection?
Yeah, so right here, it's not illustrated on these landscaping plans, but right here on that, where you can see on that southern,
Where the
west
trees are?
side, no,
The other-
like on the very rear of the building.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a dumpster enclosure there.
Oh, could you point on the map where
Yeah.
you're talking about, please?
Of course.
Because we don't have.
So right here, we're gonna have a dumpster enclosure that boxes around this area where they'll have a recycling bin and a dumpster, and so the trash truck can come in and pick it up.
Those are the south buildings, so it'll be like on the inside of the unit, kind of.
Yeah, so this will be the alley right here, and this will be the southern buildings, and then here's where the trash will be, hidden from Jefferson Street, and then it'll be in a.
'Cause I know some of our
Dumpster.
neighbors have brought up, and we live very close to there, and our neighbors have brought up concerns with other nearby complexes that because they have a dumpster that it attracts a lot of transient people at night, and so
Yeah.
that's a.
Well, we've talked to, and the reality of a dumpster versus having trash cans, it would be a lot of trash cans if everybody has their own recycling bin and trash can to roll out 32 trash cans on the street, and it's something that planning said that they would not support. So we have to do a dumpster.
Okay,
We have other issues in our neighborhood with dumpsters that don't have enclosures around them. And those get pushed out into the alley so people can park motorcycles or whatever. So if you can make sure there's an enclosure there that makes it so somebody can't park there, but those dumpsters belong there.
Definitely, and our plans too, this one doesn't show it, but the updated civil plans that we sent the city in our last round of revisions actually illustrate a 6 foot tall, it's just a cedar fence with some posts that and a gate, so.
So will there be any security like fences for the access along the sides, or is this?
Right now, we don't have any plans to put any fences around the perimeter. If we start having security issues,
You
we
will.
You will.
Yeah.
Welcome to our hood.
Yeah.
I think the spaces between the buildings where you just have some plants right now. Potentially could see those being problematic because
Yeah.
they're
It's a welcome
areas where
mat.
you can hide and squeeze in and.
Well,
Yeah.
For example, the new library, they're sleeping on the patio, on the table.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
And we're hoping too, once we get these filled up with residents, that having more doors, more windows, more people calling,
They don't care.
You say residents, but will they be owners?
there'll be owners, yeah.
Yeah, they'll help.
Yeah, and we think too, people who come in and they own their own unit will feel more passionately than renters.
Yeah, but it needs that.
Is there like a kind of vision for continuity between those two properties that you're sort of like?
We designed them with a similar aesthetic.
They sort of kind of build into that larger apartment, like big, I don't know, just skyline wise, I'm thinking about.
Yeah,
like,
the pitched roof. They'll all have kind of a similarly pitched roof with similar building materials, so they'll look
similar.
cohesive.
Cool.
Looks like we got a request to go back to the first slide. I will say for sideways townhomes, those are there's some other sideways townhomes in our neighborhood that kind of looks like the windows designed for archery. You know, this looks, you know what I'm talking about. This looks like much better street engagement.
Architecturally, it's very lazy.
Yeah, we wanted to put balconies on the front, facing out, so they're kind of facing the street and the mountains, and get a lot of glazing on that front side, and glazing really as much as we could around the building. FBUN1 does have some pretty high glass requirements, but we didn't want to ask for any exceptions to that because we felt like it was important.
One quick comment, even though it changes the character of the neighborhood, I think I can speak for most everybody in the room that we appreciate you building a for sale property.
Yep.
Yes.
That's what we need a lot more of.
Hey, we're trying here. We keep trying to pump it out.
Okey doke. Any more comments? Not trying to be too pushy, but we're just trying to.
When are you going for the mission?
We don't have a set date yet. That is something that Diana would have more information on, but we'll either go, I think there's a meeting December 12th, I think it was. Or we'll be in the meeting in January.
Okay. If you'll let us know, and if we can, for those that might want to support it, we can reach out. Or those
Of course. Yeah, I'd really appreciate that
comment. So
Just one comment, you know, we live in this neighborhood, lawn is like a welcome mat.
You're saying no, well, we actually are.
It's better, like you have some xeriscaping.
Yeah.
Like Tradition Point has a little strip of lawn, but mostly rocks.
Yeah.
With plants planted in the rocks. And if you'll drive around the neighborhood, you'll see little strips of lawn, like over by the Chevron across from Home Depot. There's a little tiny strip of lawn with trees in it.
And it turns into a camping site.
Yeah, they're sleeping.
So
because it's grass.
yeah, so ours is right now, all the landscaping is xeriscaped and with bushes and some mulch.
Yeah.
But it would be a pretty uncomfortable area to take a nap on.
Yeah, it's just how it works.
Dog's gotta pee somewhere.
Yes, unfortunately.
Alrighty. Let's move on to the high, if that sounds okay. Who's here? Let's see. Cassie, are you online for the high?
I am.
Awesome.
I also have the architect here, so they can talk about their project, but this is an affordable housing multifamily project on Richard Street, and they are working with the CRA to make this affordable between 40 and 70 AMI, providing about 169 units, and they are providing some family size 3-bedroom units as well. So they're planning on being on the December Planning Commission for a design review, just asking for a few modifications to our design standards. So I will let Keith take it away.
All right, thank you both for joining tonight.
Evening. Yeah, thanks for having us. And I'd love to share the project with you. We also have Connor and Matt from Lincoln Avenue Communities here. If you guys want to say anything about Lincoln Avenue, feel free.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. This is Connor with Lincoln Avenue. Super excited to be here. I guess quickly on Lincoln Avenue, we're a affordable housing development company, founded in 2016, but have been growing rapidly since then. We have about over 180 communities and across 30 states now. We're solely focused on affordable housing development. That's really our bread and butter. Our main focus is, providing high quality, affordable housing. I think Keith will show some great renderings of this project, but we're pretty passionate about being able to provide this housing in a way that looks like super high luxury market rate housing, but at a restricted rent level for people that are in the workforce. So super excited to present this project to you all, and we'll let Keith share some more details about it.
Great. Now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen there.
Go for it, Keith.
All right. Can you guys see it?
Yes, thank you.
Great. Here. So just to highlight some of the main bullet points or features about the project. I know Cassie hit on a few of these already, but it's 100% affordable, 169 total units and 140 parking spaces. The building is a 7-story type 3 wood structure over 2 levels of amenities and parking areas. And we're seeking design review approval from PC next month. Just some overview of some of the project amenities that it's going to offer for residents. It's going to have 2 outdoor community garden terraces overlooking Richard Street, which are going to be some of the main outdoor amenity spaces for the residents on the 3rd floor at podium level. And then there's going to be some ground floor amenities that kind of become the street lining program that we'll walk you through as we go through the rest of the project plans and elevations, as well as club room and a media space for residents down at the ground floor. There's also going to be some common laundry facilities internal to the building, as well as bike parking that'll be accessed off of Fremont Street. So just for some context on where we're located, we're about a block and a half north of the ballpark along Richards, which runs here in the middle of the page, and then Fremont is on the north here. And just some photos of some of the existing surrounding land uses. A lot of variety of scale and typologies, townhomes, some single family, a lot of commercial, light industrial nearby as well. And then this is the building footprint here. As I mentioned, we're primarily lined with all interior spaces for the resident programming on what equates to the ground floor and some on the 2nd floor. For the main lobby is going to be here at the corner of Richards and Fremont. So the building has a little bit of a tuck under at the ground floor. So there's kind of a deeper plaza and entry into the building. This is really our only public access point for the project. This is kind of where security control happens. And then behind that, we have the leasing office where visitors or folks interested in leasing will come. And then at the back behind the elevator, there's a club room that's also street facing. Many of these spaces are big enough that they need second exits or kind of convenient points of access that would be key fobbed for residents to come in directly from the street into some of these amenity spaces. And then the bike room here on the northwest corner. And then coming down below the leasing office here at the ground floor along Richard Street, we're going to have a large fitness center that's double height. So a lot of volume, a lot of glazing and transparency for connection to the street. And then more amenity space as we come south. The transformers and main electrical MPO room will be located down here at this corner. And then we've got really Richards and Fremont as our fire access lanes. We do have access to an alley back here where the trash would be pulled out from this alley. But there's no fire access or anything happening back there. It's only about 16 feet wide, so it's fairly narrow. We're gonna have a bit of a setback there, so our half street, just on our side will be 10 feet. So potentially buildings in the future might have the same 10 at some point if anything ever gets built on the other side. And then as you work up through the building on the second floor, we have another level of parking that also has some of these double height spaces like for the fitness and other amenities, and a double height lobby kind of flanking it. And then on the third floor going up, this is kind of the configuration of the superstructure for all the wood levels. It's an E-shaped building that has 2 open courtyards facing the public street. So we are a longer building, and that's one of the variances that we're asking for design review approval on, because the site is 280 feet, so not quite big enough for 2 buildings, but one bigger building fits very comfortably. And so for efficiency purposes, we're trying to maximize the use of the site and make sure that we can create 2 separate courtyards. So while we are 280 feet, the vertical elements of the project are basically 70-foot sections, and there's 3 of them that go up the full height of the building, the 7 stories, and then these other areas are 2-story that have the courtyards on them. You can kind of get a glimpse of what this looks like here, with really just outdoor communal open space at these gardens where residents will have the opportunity just to kind of sit in a quiet courtyard, maybe work from home, socialize with neighbors, etc. And they're both connected with this breezeway here on the 3rd floor. And then on the ground floor, we will have some street trees along both Richards and Fremont. From a scale perspective, they'll be not too big that they're kind of competing with fire access. We will have kind of an angle of approach for the ladders up to the roof. So we'll work closely with urban forestry as well as fire on kind of exactly what tree types those are. That's something that we're still in discussions on. And then our building largely is set back approximately 10 feet from the property line. So we do have an opportunity to potentially get some patios or plazas in front of some of these ground floor amenities. And then the vehicular entrance to the garage is down here at number 8 at the southeast corner of the building. This is a picture of the exterior of the project. You get a sense of these 3 vertical tower elements and then the 2-story base. The 2-story base largely will be glazing into the lobby, the fitness, and some of the other amenity spaces that come down towards the garage entrance here. And then you can see the kind of courtyard spaces and building beyond there. And then as far as materiality, the project is primarily made up of 3 main materials. One of them is kind of a darker charcoal gray fiber cement panel, along with some larger casement windows at all the residential units. Both living room and bedrooms will all have windows of different sizes, and then some fiber cement wood accent panels to create some variation, as well as some perforated metal screens at the parking area to hide the parking use up on the either the alley side, the south property line side yard, or the second floor here where they get screened with these panels. You can see the Fremont elevation here, as well as the lobby and the club room kind of turn the corner there on the north side. And then here's the building section. In the MU8 zone, it does allow for up to 90 feet with design review. And we're approximately 84 feet to the top of the parapet. We have a couple things like stair and elevator overruns that go above that, but the building, 7 stories with slightly larger ground floor, but all the typical residential levels will be 10 feet. And some other images of perspectives around the corner of the building. This is kind of the main entrance here on the northeast corner. And a view from the southeast. And this is essentially the full elevation along Richards, where we have the 84-foot tall facade at the tallest point. And that's the project. We're happy to answer any questions about the schedule. Cassie can certainly chime in on design review process and what that looks like as the project moves forward. But we're looking forward to presenting this next month at Planning Commission.
Yes, sir.
I'm interested in your schedule, at least as much of what you know so far.
Yeah, next month, design review approval, hopefully at Planning Commission. If that happens, we've got a pretty quick clock to get the LIHTC, which is the tax credit awards, and the bond funding, as well as RDA commitments to the project for gap financing. So we're going to move very quickly. Like, we hope, towards the end of Q2 to be submitting for building plan check, and, at the end of the summer, something like that, potentially being able to start construction of the vertical stuff. But yeah, to the extent that we can potentially have some of the grading work started, immediately after permitting. We're still looking to see how we move through the process, but our goal is certainly to start construction next year once approvals are in place.
Did you have a time next year that you would start regrading?
Some of it will be contingent on when we get approvals, but I'd say we'd probably estimate, around May of next year, something like that.
Okay.
What is the unit count?
That's 169 units.
And then how does that stack up? You have a large breadth of properties. How does that stack up to the average size of your communities nationwide?
Yeah, I can jump in there. Yeah, I can jump in there, Keith. I would say that's pretty average. I would say we're typically doing, projects over 100 units. And we'll go, up to, 300, 350 units.
All right. Yeah.
I'm extremely concerned about the amount of parking you have, because with only 140 parking spaces, that means that the city will be subsidizing your development because the parking will overflow onto the city streets. I live next to a 350 unit affordable housing complex, and ever since they came in, there has been no parking available on the city streets. Zero. And it's a major concern in this neighborhood, in this area, this community, because all of these complexes that are coming in are not allowing enough parking places for the residents. Nobody has one car. Nobody. And the Ballpark apartment complex around the corner from me, they're lining the West Temple streets. West Temple is lined with private vehicles now. And so you're not allowing enough parking for your apartment complex.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's always
you can't blow smoke up my tailpipe because I live here, and I've been here for 23 years. And that is the God honest truth. There is not enough parking allotted for in these developments.
What does the city zoning require per unit for parking?
I can hop in. So because this property is within a quarter mile from the ballpark tracks line, so it's only like a 8-minute walk or something. We have no parking minimums, so they are more than exceeding what they are required to build.
Yeah. In theory, that sounds wonderful, but it's not that's not really what happens.
I guess I have a follow-up question. Maybe was it Connor that addressed the previous question about the other communities nationwide? Do you have any mitigation or anything that you do for the impact of the size of this type of development, like a process or anything that you've done to mitigate some of the harmful impacts of having a large building that is all subsidized housing and not a mix of
Mixed income.
correct?
Yeah, this is Matt Klein with Lincoln Avenue. So this actually is mixed income, as Cassie alluded to. So we have a range of income bands here that'll cater to, like Connor alluded to, kind of a variety of working bands within the city. So that ranges from 40% AMI, which is very low income by HUD's definition, up to 70%, which is approaching close to what market rate rents are. And so we're very intentional about broadening our income bands here to be able to market and diversify kind of the housing stock within the ballpark district specifically.
Amy, can I hop in?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, my name is Fraser Nelson. I live right across from this project on West Temple. And I have questions for the city. So to go to 7 stories, did the project or is the project seeking some sort of, acceptance of that? What is the normal number of stories that would be allowed in the neighborhood under MU8?
Yeah, they're allowed to go to 85 feet in the MU8 zone.
And they're going to 90?
84 feet.
84.
84. So that means that normally it'd probably be a 6-story building, right?
What do you mean by that?
Well, if there's 7 stories to get to 84, and the normal, and you're seeking a variance for that, and you've got a double tall, I just want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you
They're not
seeking?
taking any variances for height. They're allowed to
Okay.
go to the height that they're at.
So
Just
they're allowed to put
by
in,
right.
so a 7-story building is completely allowable under this new MU8 zoning.
Sorry, let me correct myself. They're allowed to go to up to 85 feet with their design review. So that's the process that they're in right now.
Okay. So my question is, do the residents of this neighborhood who are concerned about having a very tall, very large building in an area that right now is all 1 story, primarily Richard Street, taking down, old, low rent kind of industrial spots. Does anyone in this neighborhood have any leg to stand on saying we think that that's too tall? We'd prefer 5. Or is this basically a done deal because of the zoning?
The zoning allows up to 75 by right and then 85 through design review. So if there was a challenge to the design review standards, and they only could submit through a building permit, they could still build 75 feet because it's an MU8 zone. And many other properties in this area are an MU8 or an MU5.
Yeah, the new MU8.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to get a yes or no answer. If neighbors want to say, we think this is too tall for our neighborhood, it would drastically change the nature of, the views, it would cast shadows, it would be a big, big thing in a place that right now doesn't have big, big things. Is there any chance that we have a leg to stand on, or does the zoning as it currently exists basically say they can do this? may not like it, but they have every right to do it. I'm not saying, I'm just trying to understand yes or no on that question.
Yeah, so any objections you have to the project would just have to go through the design standards, because as long as they meet the design standards, and those are outlined in the code or in my staff report when that's published, if it meets the standards, then the planning commission should approve it.
So a building of this height
Mhm.
meets the standards of the MU8 zoning.
Well, that's the design. It's going through that design process now. Yeah, so we do believe that it will meet those standards.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to understand, because people aren't happy about it because it would really change the nature of the neighborhood. As we've talked to neighbors directly impacted by it.
Yeah,
but if there's
with
really
the height
nothing, if there's really nothing that stands in the company's way, and far be it, then it'd be important to know that so that people understand what they're actually up against.
Yeah.
And for that matter, what the developer's rights are.
And yeah, the developer by right can build 75 feet. So you're arguing like the objection would be the additional 10 feet of the building.
Which is probably about a floor based on the 10-foot floors that they have now. So it could get knocked down to 6 technically.
If we find that it doesn't meet the design standards.
Yeah. What about the reduced ground floor activation? So you want to go from a pretty hefty requirement of, I think, 75% down to 55? Why no shops? Why no things to grow local retail? Why the reduction? Why are you
actually worked with the applicant on this, and they got it up, but we'll talk to you about it.
Just in terms of where we're at today, because we've been working with Cassie and Kelsey and some other folks at planning to make sure that we get as close to the intent of the active ground floor use as possible. Currently today we're at 80%. I think the main discrepancy that we're asking for the planning commission to review is the actual type of spaces that are there, because for the way that the project is going to be operated as an affordable housing project that's really resident focused, it's going to have ground floor spaces that are invisible from the street and could be accessed, but it's going to be secured, right? Everything along the frontage, whether it's the fitness center, the lobby, et cetera, is all going to be secured. We don't have any public spaces such as cafes, et cetera. And a lot of that comes down to the financial viability or feasibility of making that happen. And maybe Matt could speak a little bit to that as well. But in terms of that percentage, we have worked with staff to get that up. And I think we're in a good spot now.
And the final comment that I'll add there, thanks for the color, Keith. It does present, when we add commercial space, some challenges within the low-income housing tax credit program that would make it challenging. And so, like Keith said, the way we typically do these is we will do some, largely resident-focused areas, but that have community access as well during, normal working hours. The one thing that I will say is we did work to, right, there was the comment earlier around parking. We agree. We, for an infill type project, would at least like to try and park at a 1-to-1 ratio. That's infeasible here. It would alter our construction type. We did actually have to give up a little bit of parking to increase this ground floor active space. And so it's been a give and a take to try and, meet all of the requirements to try and make this, an integral part of the community. And so I do sympathize with the challenges. But yeah, that's kind of the state of how we're approaching this.
Question.
We got another question in the back.
Yeah. I think more just a general comment about the height and the way that it changes the neighborhood. Also, I am feeling, I think people clapped and were excited about the for sale housing and the housing for ownership in the community because we have a lot of income restricted housing already in our neighborhood and really feeling a desire for more housing for sale. I know that that is not this project, but just voicing that concern again. The last thing I want to name, and I know that again, not exactly this project, but as our neighborhood develops and more people are moving here and living here, we need a grocery store. We need more essential services right in our community that is walkable and that we can get to, especially if we're building units that, don't necessarily require as many parking spots for those residents. So I just wanted to say those things.
Make it happen.
I'm planning on it.
Don't want to compete with the new grocery store going on the milk block though. It's pretty close. So yeah.
One other question, I'm sorry, and I appreciate you taking the time to answer all of our questions, both the city and the developers. What do you see as the public benefit to this project in terms of residents who are already in the neighborhood, and the small businesses that are going to lose their rental properties, as you tear down that property that's there now?
Yeah, so we're firm believers that stable, high quality housing, right, drives economic growth within communities. So you build housing that can draw a workforce, and I know that's not a tangible benefit to the residents that are currently within the ballpark area, but bringing more working folks brings more service workers to the area, especially with the ballpark next and the big redevelopment within the entire ballpark area. And so we're really firm believers of bringing the housing, like we talked about, across income bands that will then allow for big commercial developers to come in and say, okay, we know that we have the demographics and we have the people here to be able to fill these commercial spaces that we want to build out. And so, sometimes it can feel like a chicken and egg, but the commercial growth and the retail growth comes once there is a workforce within the neighborhood. And so, what we're doing is providing the workforce within the neighborhood, which will provide for the future growth.
Can you talk a little to the green space opportunities for residents? I'm sorry, speak
Yeah.
a little. That was bad grammar.
Yeah, so the majority of the outdoor space for residents is going to happen on the third floor. We've got the two shared community courtyards up there. The idea is that they're going to be, fairly lushly planted with not huge trees, but more smaller shrubs and things like that, planters, built-in benches, barbecues, that kind of thing. So in an urban environment like this, where you've got higher density, not so much happens on the ground plane, but it's elevated. And for residents, it's great for security, having privacy. Quiet courtyards are not big, massive courtyards with pools and a lot of activity happening. They're just more small, kind of passive spaces where people can get outdoors. And then down on the ground floor at the corner, we'll basically have what'll be more of like a small plaza. So whether somebody's waiting to meet a friend or catching an Uber somewhere, that's going to be kind of the main outdoor space that happens on the ground floor. Other spaces around the perimeter will be small patios, like up outside of the club room or fitness, where some of those interior spaces can potentially flow outdoors. But most of that's the green space around the building perimeter is really going to be for the right of way, right? So parkways or planting strips, trees, that'll basically be kind of the front of the building.
So no additional publicly accessible green space.
No public accessible green space on the project now.
Of the units, when you talk about workers, are any set aside for essential workers? firefighters, police, teachers, healthcare?
I think maybe there's some preconceptions about affordable housing because there's quite a range. And I think when we start talking about 70% AMI, that basically is, workforce housing for teachers, firefighters, police officers. A lot of the workforce in the city of Salt Lake City would fall into that category. So this isn't, extremely low income. This has got quite a range of affordability built into it. And Matt, I don't know if you want to share any more about that, but I think it's a diverse mix of income levels that, most of us here in the meeting could probably qualify for.
Yes, but
Yep.
I'm understanding that you're not doing a program to get some of your LIHTC credits or something that would involve a specific set aside for types of workers, essential workers, which can be a source of additional points and credits on things.
So there's no requirement within the program to do any we actually can't within the program provide any specific set asides. It becomes a fair housing requirement or a fair housing issue. But we can have preferences for essential workers, right? And so we can say, yes, we have a teacher's preference, we have a firefighter preference. And we do that in a lot of our communities, and that is a lot of the resident base of our communities. And so we're very much committed to, like Keith was alluding to, kind of all income bands within the group that we'll be leasing to. But we'll absolutely have preferences that are fair housing compliant for the essential workers within the ballpark area.
Amy, I don't know if you wanted me to speak to your community benefit question. I saw that you
That'd
put
be
that in the
great.
chat.
That'd be great, but I mean, I've had some experience talking in front of the planning planning commission lately, and my sense is that affordable housing by itself is thought of as a sufficient community benefit. But if you know differently, this would be a great time to.
Yeah, it definitely is. Affordable housing is absolutely like a community benefit, but I'm not sure if you or Fraser were talking about like our official community benefit policy, and those are only required for text or zoning map amendment. So this project is not going through a rezone process, so they are not required to have that community benefit aspect to their project. They just have to meet the design standards through the design review. But that being said, it is an affordable housing project that is providing 3-bedroom affordable housing near transit. So I think it is offering a lot of those community benefits.
Thank you. All right, we are about, half an hour behind where I hope to be. So if we could merrily roll along, that would be great. I am excited about more affordable housing. It is going to be a big building. But let's move along and hear a little bit about the east-west connections, west-east, excuse me.
Come up and say some next.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Joe Taylor. I'm a transportation planner with the transportation division at Salt Lake City. And I am working on a study we're calling WEConnect, West East Connections. It's a federally funded US DOT study as part of their Reconnecting Communities program.
I know about those, Doug. They're super into the Reconnecting Communities funds.
And I will pull my slides up if I can. Cool, there we go. So, federally funded 2-year study taking a look at the West-East divide in Salt Lake City. It is not prescriptive. It's very much coming in and asking the communities along the West-East Divide, first of all, what the problem is, and then what we might do about it. So it will not have construction dollars attached to it. It will have a recipe for how to seek those construction dollars. At this point, we don't even know what will be put forth. Where we're at is we've kind of gone out and asked as broadly as we can, spent about 8 months asking, what folks feel the problem is. I think everybody knows, kind of the first, most obvious problem is that you're trying to get from one side of the city to the other. The arm comes down and you can't. But, it's becoming clear to us that it's much more broad than that, right? That it's led to how communities are invested in. It's about accessing resources. One thing we hear over and over again is, there's not a public high school student in the west side of Salt Lake that doesn't have to cross that divide every day. So, stuff like that. So before we kind of go to our next phase, which is what should we do about it? We're kind of just circling with all of the community councils that are on the divide to make sure that what we have heard so far fits well with you guys, that you're not seeing any surprises and that you're also not seeing a glaring omission on our part. So I will just tell you a little more about the study, who's doing it. There's the study area. You can see Ballpark right there. And then how we're kind of going about our engagement, what we've heard.
Is that 17th?
17th
I spent a lot
is...
of time right there, so I kind of wondered.
Yeah, 17th is, can you see my cursor right
Yep.
there? Yeah, a lot of time waiting for trains.
Yeah, well, you kind of get the time down to when not to go west.
Pray it's a front runner, right?
Yeah, pray it's a front runner.
So, we've gone out to the public directly and we'll continue to do that. We also have a community advisory board. Shout out to Dana, who I think is on the Zoom meeting. But those are residents who applied for a position on this community advisory board and they're paid for their time. They're coming all the way through this study just to be experts in their own communities, as well as to help us engage better with the folks who live in these areas. And then we've also got, as part of the grant, a coalition of artists. They're all local artists who are probably not going to put a commissioned piece of art together, but more like bring artistic expression to our community engagement and events. They're just coming online as part of this work, and that's really exciting. And then, of course, we're working with traditional channels like community councils. So, this is kind of what we've heard as being the problem. A lot of it has to do with that mobility challenge, like you're talking about waiting for a train. A lot of it is about not being able to access things like education, grocery stores, stuff like that, or that the version that you can access is not the one that you want. And so you drive outside your community to go to a different grocery store, things like that. It's just mostly that it's a time delay and that it's kind of part of neighborhood identities in maybe not necessarily a positive way. So we're kind of right at the end of this first blue area. The next phase of the work is going to be, probably the easiest interface is going to be an online map where you can just draw a pin or draw a line and say, this is what I think we should do. That's going to be open to anybody who wants to participate, anybody who has an idea. And ideas, I think can range from you should stripe a lane differently to you should bury I-15, right? We're really looking at
Tunnels.
Yeah, whatever it is.
They did that with part of by 215 in the Holiday Cottonwood area.
Yeah.
They were required to go below ground level for sound reasons.
Yeah, there's a few of those.
Legal fight.
So obviously our response to a paint and striping thing would, be different than burying the freeway or burying the train. But we will assess as best we can with a pretty substantial team of engineers and economists and planners what ideas look like. And we will put forward, what we think best solves the problem as we've heard it, best meets the standard of our community advisory board and the broader community, and what we think, it's hard to say what we think would actually get built because, You can talk about what we could build in 2 years versus what we could build in 50 years. But that we think has a reasonable chance of success on some timeline. So, this is kind of a broad, look at what the problem is. I think ballpark, I think 13th and 17th come up a lot, but for me, I think one of the most outstanding things is like, yeah, there's challenges at 13th and 17th, but they're also the only ones, right? There's just not a lot of paths through that. So that's kind of an interesting take on it anyway. Travel choices, obviously, we've heard is a big deal. Can't run a bus across a freight line because you can't have a reliable bus. People don't feel comfortable walking, biking in and around the freeway, around freight trains. It's a pain in your car, but it's probably less of a pain in your car than in any other mode. It's, like I said, difficult to access goods and services, especially for folks on the west side, but for everybody in the area. There are health challenges associated with being near freight and rail, in terms of air quality, in terms of access to facilities, a whole bunch of stuff.
And noise,
Noise is definitely a factor. And we've also just heard a lot that folks just don't feel safe walking around near the freight trains, either because of the trains themselves or because of what else is going on around there. And then it also community vibrancy suffers, be that economic or be that stuff to do or just destinations, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of what we have heard. I'd love to hear if you think that we missed something or got something wrong. But in the next probably early spring, we'll come back out and say we'd love to hear your thoughts on what we might do about this challenge. So our website is easy to find. It'll go into as much depth as you want about what we found to be the problem, about the grant program, about what is happening. There's a lot of stuff happening to address this challenge. Today, 4th South is under construction to make a better bike ped access. We've got a ped bridge recently online at 3rd North, but obviously the challenge is not solved. And then we'll be out in the community in force in 2026. So we're looking forward to seeing you all there if you are interested. And that's the project email, West East Connections. It's slc.gov. If you just Google Salt Lake City West East Connection Study, there's a good Vietnamese restaurant in Foothill that will probably come up first, but we'll be second or third. So yeah.
That's not you, huh?
No, we should be meeting there though, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Catered.
But yeah, happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
The Rio Grande plan, how does that fit?
Yes, so the way the grant is written, we are very much agnostic about solutions. We don't want to come in and present what we think would be the solution. We're looking for that to come from the community. That said, the Rio Grande plan, the Rio Grande folks are obviously a very vocal group. We expect that they will put their plan as a solution. And that we will probably look at it. But we don't want it to come from us. That makes sense.
How do you make official recommendations? I mean, how do you get on the?
So what the final work of this project will be is once we winnow down whatever it is that we want to put forward, be it a single thing or a package of smaller stuff or whatever it is. And we're not even limiting it to transportation stuff, right? It might be a community center on the west side or whatever it ends up being. The final work of it will kind of be like a roadmap to what we think would give us the best shot to get that built. And so that may include proposed zoning changes. That may include points of community activism. It's likely to include grant programs for which the city could apply. There are also a lot of, the city doesn't own or control the Union Pacific Railroad or the Front Runner Rail.
Major issue.
They don't own or control the interstate freeway system. And so if we are presenting alterations to those facilities, there is likely to be this is how you would interface with that owner operator. But also with the understanding that, we can't force a public or private
The
entity.
primary issue, you have big box store of the city between 21st and whatever Target is, 11th South or whatever. So if you don't have connectivity from the west.
Yeah.
Right there, that huge residential place. So-
Yes, south of 9th South, there's there's really only those
And if
three
you have
places to get through.
connectivity, you're not gonna build another big box alley down on Redwood. They're not gonna do that.
Yeah, I don't know, I guess enough about retail land use to speculate on that, but yeah, there's clearly a permeability challenge.
And it's just not the big boxes, it's all the little places around them that's come in.
Right.
It's like this, it is the Salt Lake City shopping zone. And if you're isolating that huge part of the city over across I-15.
One thing that was really surprising we heard when we were in Rose Park especially, but also hearing a lot from Glendale, is that folks are either going like to Centerville or Woods Cross, or they're going to West Valley. It's easier to get to those things. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Did you have anything to do with the mess on 9th?
I maybe which particular mess is that?
It would have been better if 9th had never been touched.
Well, you mean 9th and 9th?
9th South going east and west.
Yeah.
That wasn't me.
Oh, that was
The
they
merchants.
have all this redesign of.
Yeah, that was our division. Yeah.
So you're probably talking about like in the second west zone area that.
Yeah.
South,
Yeah.
right? It has a lot of traffic calming and all that stuff.
Narrowing and walk.
Well, it's not a very not a very good road to go up and down any.
You've taken and put the bikes on the street. They should have stayed on the sidewalk where I walk rather than on the street where I drive. You've made a mess out of it.
Oh, well, on that they got their own lane. They're not in either, but yeah. It seems to be popular and businesses seem to be doing well, but that's not my project, so I don't really feel too comfortable speaking on it. But yeah, certainly
give him that guy's number who was in charge of that.
He's moved on.
True. He has moved up. Yeah. He moved up. Got hired by UTA.
Yeah, our director did just go to UTA.
Yeah.
But in terms of West East, I don't think any of that was surprising, right? Hopefully not.
No, we've been lobbied by the Rio Grande plan, the train roads extensively.
Yeah.
And the Kool-Aid is great. I love it. Bury the train.
Yeah.
One thing I think would make a huge difference if they just put a tunnel underneath the tracks at 1700. If there just was an underpass under the railroad, then all of that neighborhood over there would have a straight shot to Third West or to 300 West. And
again, I'm really trying to stay solution agnostic.
That's my official suggestion.
It's certainly easier to go over and under than it is to move the train.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the notion of going under or over in a few places should prohibit or preclude the larger notion of eventually burying the train, for example.
But you just have very powerful railroads that.
You have powerful railroads, and that's a factor.
They were there first before anybody. They own that land.
They own the land, they own the right of way, they were there before the incorporation of the city. And they are a participant in this study. They won't, what do they say? Get it wrong. They assume no benefit. That's not insurmountable. There's a stormwater challenge. All of the stormwater in Salt Lake City is gravity fed, which is a pretty amazing benefit because gravity doesn't break, and pumps do. So a trench would require stormwater pumping. Again, that exists in a number of places. It's not an insurmountable challenge, but it's an expensive challenge. And then there's the cost of it, right? It's the notion of spending $8 billion on a transportation project is not crazy, right? Like the I-15 expansion is not way more than that. It's not the type of transportation project that has been traditionally funded in this region. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Of course, it doesn't mean it can't happen. The fact that it's all in Salt Lake City, I think, makes it a little harder for the state to swallow. So these are things that I think are all solvable aspects of the Rio Grande plan, but things to consider.
It's hard to justify because you got overpasses, north and south.
Yeah. It also doesn't do much for Glendale or the ballpark, right? Which is something to think about, right?
Yeah.
We brought that up.
Yeah.
And that transition zone, right, that the train can only go down at a 2% grade. So you have that long flat to under the tunnel zone. That might almost be worse than what's there today. Again, you can take a train from England to France, right? Like these are all things that could be figured out with money and will. And it is a bold idea that would solve a lot of problems. So.
All right, have we given you enough feedback on your presentation?
Yes, sign up for the email if you want to. The more the merrier. Thanks for having me.
We know it's an issue. We all
Thank you. It's interesting.
Doug and I have 2 more presentations to give you, but they're going to be real short.
Oh, mine is so brief.
So the briefest of brief. Because we're going to sell you on more pedestrian stuff. Is that accurate?
Yes,
Are you
pedestrian and bikes.
Are you on this thing?
I'm not. I don't really have anything to show other than my QR code.
Thanks,
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Let's see. I have like 2 slides.
Well, if you want to go ahead of me, and I'll.
Part of me is wondering if we should just combine it into one mega proposal. So I'm not kidding. Let's see. Go the whole meeting, and you wonder, but how do I share? I don't know. All right, what can we see? We want to make pedestrian improvements around the Ballpark Library Lab because right now pedestrian access around it sucks. You've got that crosswalk and it doesn't actually align with the library lab. Doesn't really connect to anything on the east side of the street. Like there's not really anything there. I mean, I think it was one point the entrance, some kind of entrance to the ballpark. And 1400 South has to be repaved because it's over 100 years old.
Yeah. It's really bad.
I've noticed it's really bad. Doesn't have a curb, doesn't have gutter. It's sort of gravel. Yeah.
Yeah, we got lucky in Jefferson because it was in the same condition, but the developer paved it.
Well, yeah. So originally we got a little city grant to to paint crosswalks, a Love Your Block grant. Then we found out that a durable crosswalk costs like $8,000, and that's 8 times as much as we were allocated, and we were hoping to put in a couple crosswalks. There's also no signage that there's a library there. All the other libraries in the city, like there's a library here sign, not here. Like one of the official green signs or whatever that you see on the side of the road. So we're hoping for some pedestrian markers to make it so people aren't darting between cars as much.
Walked up that sidewalk today. And
you had a negative experience.
I did.
Hearing you say.
There's it's like this.
So we were thinking that we could put in crosswalks that themselves kind of indicate to people like, oh look, it's a library, because other cities and municipalities have done this, that they paint books in the crosswalk. It looks really cool. This is my favorite.
That's cool.
But like other people have done this, it would be a neat way for people to, slow down. For pedestrians, but also get signal to them like, oh, library, that's super cool. So that's what our CIP application is for, just signage and pedestrian improvements. I hear you're interested in signage and pedestrian improvements.
So I've put in a CIP for bike and pedestrian improvements in the central 9th area. It is a little bit of everywhere. If you go on to central9th.org on our main page, right underneath the invitation for this meeting, it lists it all out clearly so that if you get lost in my ramblings here in just a second, you can go on there and actually see what we're asking for. But the big asks that I'm asking for is on the 9-line trail at West Temple and State Street, motion activated signs that would indicate when pedestrians and bikes are on the 9-line trail, and it would bring up a sign that says stop for pedestrians and bikes, because having a friend that was just literally hit on the 9-line trail by a car with a month ago, it's a big issue, especially for those making right-hand turns headed eastbound on the 9-line trail. It's a lot of cars turn right there and don't see bikers in the trail, not expecting them to be coming from the opposite direction, and they're also not seeing the ones that are coming up from alongside. Then the other things we're asking for some motion active or some light up pedestrians and crosswalk signs for Jefferson and Washington Streets on 900 South. Asking for some enhanced lighting at Jefferson Street at the crosswalk there. Asking for a brand new crosswalk to be put in at Meade Avenue and West Temple. It's right where the cars come off of the I-15 ramp at sometimes at very high rates of speed. So we'd also be looking to put in some planters or something that would narrow the street a little bit, that would help slow people down. And then on Meade Avenue, we're asking for some enhanced lighting and some angled parking on Meade and Jefferson Street.
So you have a big hodgepodge of stuff that's not even necessarily in like one intersection or anything like
This
that.
is smattering throughout Central Line. That they're all hopefully affordable and cheap projects that keep us keep us in a budget. Because I'm being told that next year's budgets are going to be tight, and so making it affordable is a very important thing for a CIP.
Honest question, would it make sense for us to combine, like, I don't think this CIP application is, like, I'm a little concerned that it meets the threshold of 50 grand.
Yeah.
But it's way too expensive for Love Your Block. So because again, a durable crosswalk is surprisingly expensive.
And I know there's been some talk about Love Your Block increasing their amount to.
It's still, it would have to like quadruple or by a factor of 5 or 6 or something, because it is
Just going across West Temple.
Uh,
Your sidewalk ideas, West Temple.
The crosswalk would be
No,
across
crosswalk.
West Temple and also the other way.
And
across
Jefferson on 14th,
Yeah.
so 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, would be happy to talk about combining, because if it's on the same street, it would be putting 2 crosswalks in the same area, so that does make sense.
I haven't been contacted yet by the city. I've reached out a few times to say like, hey, but I think this one's under transportation. What division are you in?
Transportation, which I just got an email last night.
Oh, okay.
So I bet you might have one in your email today.
I didn't, but
okay.
I sent an email and said, haven't heard yet, and they said they're behind.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But anyway, I don't want to undermine your project. I'm just literally wondering, would it be strengthened by mushing them together?
I think it would
That's
be
the same category of things.
I'm hoping that mine stays in under the 100,000 mark, and if we do that, and it doesn't sound like yours is really all that much, so I would be in support of that. I almost added in a few more along West Temple in my CIP, but I just wanted to keep it simple. So because I know CIPs can get a little bit lost. So
we also just got I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but maybe other people in the room want to know. We also got stymied, because we got the Love Your Block grant. And then the sewer rehab was announced for West Temple, and we were like, doesn't make sense to paint anything there anymore if you're digging it,
Yeah.
So, and that project is not happening on the first, second, or third schedule that we were told yet,
It's
so.
moving at glacial speeds.
So that, yeah, so, yeah, so, but I'm not worried if we got funding. That seems to happen on a longer.
Yes, I applied in 2023 for the one on Harvey Milk Boulevard, and I was literally typing away, sending out an email, asking where we're at on that, and aren't much further than we were 6 months ago.
We got the Kensington Avenue crosswalk, but I applied for it in 2019.
Yeah.
So that's 6 years.
I have a question. How hard is it to get the city to come and pave like 1400 South right there in front of the library? It's really, that sidewalk.
That actually is, if you look at that chat right there where I said, like, have you tried submitting a request through the road conditions? Right now, the street conditions map the link to it is broken, but all of the streets in the city have a rating of like, how quickly do they, like, how poor repair are they? So I wish I could look at that map right now and tell you, like, oh, Jefferson Street is rated a this and 1400 South is rated an F- or whatever, but
You don't know.
I don't know, but I do know that there's a list somewhere that exists.
And submitting through my SLC mobile app, it took us 2 years to get 800 South. The bike lane there was really, really bad. But we got enough people to submit through that they finally came in and repaved it.
So
a
that's
few
the
months
way
ago.
to do it.
Yes. And get your neighbors to submit.
Nobody lives on 1400 South though, except for Odyssey House.
Hey, but get them to submit.
And the boy and the real estate guy down the corner.
Yeah,
You
but
don't have to
you know,
live there to submit it.
But the Ballpark Library Lab does kind of care, because they're trying to put in like handicap parking and stuff right there, so that's another. Talking about getting pedestrian improvements kind of stimulates that conversation about.
Because the sidewalk is dangerous in front of that.
Yeah, it's not very good, I agree, and there's no curb, yeah.
I mean, that could be a part of asking a CIP.
It could.
Because that was, and this is previous, conversations with city council, but we know that safety improvements, greatly move very high on the CIP applications. And we asked for Fayette Avenue to be brought up to city standards, because it was the same way. There was no sidewalk. It's leading to a pedestrian walkway on 3rd West. And Carrie Nakamura, who submitted it, was successful and received the funding for Fayette Avenue to get sidewalks, curbs, gutters, parking. So.
It was the second time that was submitted. I mean, all
Yeah.
credit to Carrie, but
No.
even that took more than one cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Board members who are still present. Where's Kevin? What do you think about, this application, smushing applications together? We submitted with the Ballpark Library Lab for this because, of course, they supported the initial Love Your Block application, but they were also a voice that we can include in this that might help weigh it in favor.
No,
Janice, you live right there. Maybe you're too biased for me to even ask. But I imagine, do you have any comments as somebody who's
I don't know,
I walk there all the time?
I got scared to a new level. No, I think it's fine, yeah.
It sounds like synergy and
Well, when I have my conversation with transportation, I can raise the issue of like, would this be helpful or not?
Yeah.
So.
Or if they would allow it, because
Yeah.
I'm on board, so.
Alrighty.
And I like having artwork out there.
Well, I know you like that thing, so I remember that's way back in the, like, let's submit the letter.
All these sections.
Yeah, there was a crosswalk art conversation. So.
But the other place too, you were talking about signs for the library, and what I thought of was at the track station by the library downtown. Got something going on there, and I'm going, that kind of be a cool place for more hour.
All right, we've been meeting for 35 minutes longer than I was hoping for. We
They
wrapped
haven't
up.
flashed the lights yet.
They left. Doug, thank you for staying so long.
Yeah, no worries.
Voice your CIP app. Sounds cool. But yeah, maybe we can go along. All right. Thank you all for staying till the end, folks online. Da-da-da.
Bye, Amy. See ya.
Hey, Brandy.
See ya. Bye, guys.